Ebenfalls nächste ausgewählte 24 an die Bühne. In der Start Nummer 33 geht in den Wettkampf. Er hat in dieser Saison schon gegen Dario Colonia gewonnen. Für den nächsten Monat ist mit der 33 von Zürich.
Dario Colonia, we are just ahead of the 7th edition of Tour de Ski. How important it is for you to start really well in Oberhof?
Yeah, for the feeling and also for the head, it's always good to have a good start. And yes, I like the prologues, and I hope to show a good race. Of course, it's not the most important for the Tour de Ski, but a good start gives self-confidence, and so I hope to start well tomorrow.
The prologue is short, so there is not any place for tactics, so it's just going as fast as possible, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit longer than a sprint qualification, but you have a little bit tactic, and because it can be very tough at the end. So, but of course, it's short, and you have to go as fast as possible in the end. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and good luck for the competition.
Thank you.
Well, I wonder how much good luck he needs. He is, of course, the three-time champion of the Tour de Ski, and Dario Colonia knows exactly how to play this game, and I don't think we'll see him pushing too hard just to secure the victory today. He'll want a good time, of course, but he'll leave all the dramatic stuff to Petter Northug and then hope that the Norwegian gets worn out later on in the Tour. Well, the conditions aren't getting any better. The temperature now hovering around 2 degrees. It's going up and down a little bit. I can't quite work out whether it's going to be an advantage to go early or late. If the temperature drops, which it may well do at this time of the afternoon, then it's an advantage to go late. If it doesn't, then it's an advantage to go earlier on with less disruption on the track itself.
Well, that's right. And 4 kilometres, it's certainly deep. You can see how wet it is, deep, wet snow on all the uphill climbs. And even on days like this, running or warming up with your ski boots on, you get a little bit of damp through your boots. So important to keep warm and try to keep dry as well.
So just moments before the start of the men's prologue, we'll take a quick commercial break here on Eurosport. We'll be back with the early runners. Welcome back to Oberhof, just a few minutes now before the start of the men's prologue. A big field in today's race, and of course the best going last. Emil Jonsson will be the last man away, number 97, so it's going to take over 45 minutes to get them all out on the tracks. But it's a short blast once it's started, 4 kilometres the distance. Not quite sure what sort of time we can expect. Looking at previous years, Mike, around the 8-minute marker for a race of this distance, but I think maybe we are looking at 8 minutes 30, 8 minutes 35, considering the conditions.
I would, without a doubt, slower today. The glide factor on the downhill, it's very wet snow, so there's a lot of suction under the skis, and of course you're pressing deep into the snow when you're trying to climb up these hills. The wind as well, very windy in the stadium area.
Well, there you see the temperature again, gone back up to 1.9. It did get a little bit colder during the women's race, but if it gets warmer and warmer and warmer, you certainly wouldn't want to be Emil Jonsson, who's going to find himself knee-deep in slush by the time he starts the race. Here's the course. Again, that big climb up to 1.7, exactly the same as the women's. But compared to previous years, we have a couple of 100 metres added, usually 3,661 metres, today 4,000.
Yes, that new bit of the track again for the men. They're just doing that little 300 metres within the stadium, so the spectators see them more.
They need to. In these conditions, it might have backfired slightly. They can hardly see from one side of the stadium to the other. There you see Andy Musgrave goes off number 12. An early start for him, but certainly watch out for it. I'm going to put a little bit of money on the table for you, Mike. He will have the quickest time when he goes through the 1.7 marker.
When he goes through?
When he goes through. I'm not sure he'll have the quickest time come the end of the race, but he will post the fastest intermediate time when he gets there.
Oh, absolutely possible, and I would love to see Andy Musgrave hold that for the whole race and at the finish line as well. Andrew Young as well, he's going later down in position 76 or bib 76. He's on very good form this season as well, so for the Brits here, hopefully it's going to be a magical day. There he is.
There he is, number 76. How's he going to cope with Toby Angra starting just 30 seconds behind him now? If he can use it in a positive fashion and cling on to the German as he goes past, which we assume he will at some stage during the race, then that could work very nicely for Andrew Young. And I hope it goes well for him. Musgrave raced the Tour de Ski and finished it last year, Mike, so he's got the experience. What will he have learned from last year?
I think really you learn so much on how to pace not just each race or each day, but it's the long haul. You're in here for an 8-day, 9-day period, and it's about keeping calm in between the races. It's about recovery time, and it's about trying to keep away from the distractions. And I think Muzzy last year did so well, and in fact he finished 28th in this prologue last year, which is an outstanding performance. It's in that very top bracket of cross-country skiing in the world.
Now, if we look amongst the Russians, they've got Chernozov, who goes off number 85. We've got Vilizanin, who goes number 91. Don't rule out the Kazakhstan team either. Poltaranin is there. He starts number 93. He's had a very good season indeed. Alexander Legkov, he might be a man to watch out for. He starts for Russia, number 83. So he's still got 40 minutes or so before he even has to think about putting his skis on.
One that I think is going to go well today, it's Ilya Chernusov, bib 85 for Russia. Often shown as his strength. He is a real tough, gritty fighter. Well, there's Andrew Musgrave. Good to see him just before his start. And, well, the race suit as well. It's their new suit this season. Very Swedish looking.
Matches the cheeks.
The nerves must be tingling in there, Patrick, without a doubt, psyching up for this for so long.
Did most of the training up in Huntly near Aberdeen, and now, of course, bases himself in Norway. That surely is the key to do your best to become either Norwegian or Russian and learn from the best. Anton Lidblad of Sweden gets the men's Tour de Ski underway for 2012-2013. 7 stages in all over the next 9 days. Slightly shortened tour with one less stage, but it's still an almighty task just to finish the race, let alone win it. And Lindblad out on the course. He'll be chased by Bergel. Again, that 30-second margin, so plenty of time. One of the disadvantages with the 30 seconds margin, Mike, is that the conditions between the start for the early starters and the late starters can be so dramatic.
Well, 50 minutes is a long time in any place, in any weather.
Yeah, coming from Aviemore, you know that.
Absolutely. But Turingen here, and well, we're only at, what, 1,100 metres up here, but it's been reasonably stable all morning. I don't think it's going to change much.
Now, we've seen the American women doing well. I wonder how the Canadian men are going to get on today. They've not been firing on all cylinders so far, but maybe even Babikoff, who's still there and still going well. We've got Devon Kershaw, Alex Harvey. Alex Harvey going off number 56. And certainly he should be able to do something. He's a pretty good sprinter. He's good over distance. He's good classic, good freestyle. This has got his name on it, surely.
It has, but remember, over in the 2 races back home for him, he had to pull out of the distance race in the classic. He wasn't feeling so good. He wasn't very well. So hopefully he's put that behind him now.
I don't think he'd be racing if he wasn't, but of course there's still an opportunity for a late withdrawal. Talking about withdrawal, Sami Jauhijärvi of Finland has withdrawn for family reasons. So we're very disappointed not to have him here. Anders Södergren, also the veteran from the Swedish team, has withdrawn. He's not been well over the Christmas break, but Axel Teichmann is back after being forced out of the races in Canada. So good to see Teichmann back. And I believe Schanke has also withdrawn from the race, another of the Germans.
That's a pity. Tim Schanke was showing so much promise in Canada with his victory in the sprint and one of the distance races. This is an interesting athlete, Shmurko here. He only raced 3 times last year in the World Cup, but a lot of promise he has, I'm told.
Tour of Austria comes from the Gosling Hoche Club. 25 years old, now, and certainly coming into his prime as far as cross-country skiing is concerned. Not a bad junior, but yet to show his colours at senior level.
I love that camera shot. You can see very clearly how the knees, as they leave the starting pen, hopefully we'll see it again, you can see how the stability is coming from the knees above the ski to keep the balance. Niskanen, 20-year-old, so quite young to be... we don't often see athletes below age 21 taking part in the Tour de Ski. But why not? Niskanen has been a very good and promising junior, fourth in the 10K Classic. So tomorrow, he should be feeling good about tomorrow's race, although a little further, 15 kilometres.
A long, long climb for Lindblad up to that 1.7. Same sort of distance as a men's sprint event. But then, of course, they've got an extra 2.3 kilometres still to go, and some pretty cruel climbs on the closing stages as well as this course. So if you think you finished the race at 1.7, you are gravely mistaken. And I think, Mike, that is why the sprinters never win this prologue. The Emil Jonsson hasn't got a chance of winning today, surely.
I think he's got a great chance of setting the fastest time to this point, Emil Jonsson. I'm not sure he's... There's recovery here enough maybe for Emil Jonsson to rebuild, to recover for the next attack. This is a much longer recovery for the men because we don't take the right-hander we saw the women take. We carry on for a little further, 100 metres further, then it's another steep climb and then another recovery drop-off before the final, 600-700 metres to stadium.
Having said the sprinters never win this, of course, the last 3 years, if you look at the last 3 years, Petter Northug has won this twice, this prologue. But he's a distance racer, really. I mean, I know he's got a phenomenal turn of speed, but Marcus Hellner, the world champion over the sprint distance, again, you wouldn't recognise him as a specialist sprinter, but he's obviously pretty handy at it. So you're looking for the all-rounder. Will Cologne come through with the quickest time today?
Possibly, but absolutely planned he has for this as Ballas goes through from Canada. But Cologne really wants this title for another time, and his preparation, and especially with it going back to his hometown, his home valley where he was brought up the first time the Tour de Ski going to Switzerland. This is the new part of the track. It's a tough left-hander there, and maybe we'll see possibly one of the athletes being off balance on that corner. And certainly tomorrow in this section, the next section, the right-hander coming up, it's a difficult turn in these soft, mushy conditions.
So, getting through the start sheet now. Snorri Ines of Norway. And the Norwegians all queued into this event. Of course, hoping that Petter Northug can win one of the things that he hasn't won so far. He put such an effort into winning the Tour last year. Mike, what's he got to do? What do you think Northug's got to do to win it? How's he going to beat Cologne?
I think that Northug, last year, I think we saw him down at 25 seconds behind Cologne on the very last day. I think that Northug's only chance of beating Cologne, if in fact it is those two on the last day again, is that he needs at least a 15-second advantage, I think, on Cologne going into the last day.
Double that and add another 10, I think, might be a more convincing reason. Cologne is so strong on that final climb. Northug, though, being slightly behind at the start of that final day. Remember, it's a 9-kilometre race, the last 4.5 kilometres of which are up a downhill ski slope. Northug had to work very hard on the flat section prior to the climb and didn't save enough for the big climb.
Well, that's right. I think he pulled back about 15 seconds in on the flat section. You're right, 5.5 kilometres, and he really did burn himself out. But it was with trying to close that gap and threaten Cologne that really burnt him out on the climb.
Well, here's another new name from Russia, Larkov, who we've seen very little of in previous seasons. This is his first season really on the tour. 33rd in the World Cup standings at the moment, but some good racing over in Canada. A couple of top 10s, so he really is the real deal. And I think he could do something. So that's Andrei Larkov wearing bib number 16. Number 9, obviously from Italy, is Dietmar Nöckler.
Very soon, Andrew Musgrave coming up this climb, and I think, as you predicted, hopefully setting the fastest time to this point.
Musgrave wearing bib number 12. He started a minute and a half down on Nöckler. So that's all we've got to wait to see Musgrave coming through this early stage.
I think Nöckler showed us there, Patrick, how difficult that, what looks easy, that left-hander at the bottom of the, 55, 60 kilometre an hour descent.
So the early starters approaching the finish now. Anton Lindblad of Sweden hoping to post a time somewhere around 8 minutes. If it's around 8.5 to 9, then we know that the conditions have got slower in the last couple of hours. Well, it's over 9 minutes. My goodness, it's hard work out there. And you can see on the snow, you can see the effects of the warm temperatures, Mike. There are certain sections where it's almost melting in front of the spectators' eyes.
The baskets, the tips of the ski poles really digging in through this very damp, wet snow.
So 9:21.7, the initial time. It will stand as the fastest, but not for long, because it looks as though Lukas Bergel of Germany is going to take the lead away from Lindblad. Early stages, and for Lindblad, it's all about surviving the Tour de Ski. Len Valjas has done well. Still another 20 minutes or so before the start of the big names. And Valjas going into the lead. So Canada lead, 9:01.
In den Top 3.
Welcome back to Oberhof. Still very early days in this men's prologue. Larkov approaching the intermediate. Apologies for missing out on Andrew Musgrave. If you're watching up in Huntley, he's gone through the 1.7 stage, Mike. I think just a little bit off the pace.
Little off the pace. He was only 10 seconds off the fastest through the 1.7 last year, but Muzzy 4.7 seconds off the fastest at the first split. Promising start.
Of Austria finishing his run. Fiona Hughes, incidentally, racing for Great Britain earlier on today. A minute and a half down on the fastest time set by Keegan Randall. Not a bad margin, to be honest, but down the bottom of the pile after the first day of racing.
And it'll be a tough day tomorrow for Fiona from the Yorkshire Dales Club. She's that minute and a half is a punishing disadvantage at the start of the race tomorrow.
Trisha of Austria, he'll be well inside 9 minutes, and the fastest time so far. So that's a really good attacking run for him. The first of 7 stages. It's going to be a long week of racing for him. And although this is one of the shortest races of the Tour, it certainly feels one of the most painful. On to number 27. This is Remo Fischer of Switzerland, and he's got some quads on him, Mike. Very well developed in the thigh, and that's largely from the freestyle skating, because you didn't see anything quite like that before skating was introduced.
Now very muscular indeed, almost like a slalom, a downhill racer. And they hit ski pole at the start there. It broke through the top layer. They brought in some, 27 trucks of snow into the stadium yesterday, but it's all mushy, it's all very wet.
Well, the hope is that temperatures get down to around 0 tonight. If it drops down to -5, we'll be absolutely fine.
Johansson, all of the athletes, Patrick, in these difficult conditions are keeping technique organised, efficient as they can. There's no over-tempo going up the climbs or even on the flat. You just have to let the skis ride in this soft, mushy stuff.
Yeah, this is where biathlon's Ole Einar Bjorndalen is so good, isn't he? He's so light on the ski, and the balance is absolutely fantastic. If you lose your balance and you put the ski onto its edge, it just digs in, disappears, and all your speed disappears as well. Yeah, Hansen not doing too bad. 9:10 his time, 21 seconds outside, already down in 7th, so I don't think he's going to pick up too many World Cup points, if any, today. You have to finish in the top 30 to achieve that. Here comes Andrew Musgrave.
Looking good. He's just focused on keeping his technique together, trying to keep the tempo going to the line.
Well, he's not far outside. Remember, he was 5 seconds behind at the 1.7 interval. That's extended to 15.3. Well, if he stays within 30 seconds of today's winner, I think he'll be happy with that. How do you think Andrew's form is compared to last year?
Certainly from what we saw in Gällivare and in the Norwegian FIS races in Beiterstolen, really good. 12th in Beiterstolen, and only a handful of seconds behind Petter Northug. He is up there. He is establishing himself as a well-respected and top-class racer. And I think maybe as this tour goes on, he will lift his game. Today it's about nerves and coping with pacing. Tomorrow, I think the tour really, you get into it. You get into this tough routine. I hope we see Andrew being a real contender, and I believe he's capable of a top 15 this season, Musgrave.
First 30 athletes are already out onto the tracks. The seeded skiers don't start until number 59. Noah Hoffman is the first of them. From USA, Matti Häkkinen, Andrew Newell is there, Babikov, Decenta, Shabotko. And then, of course, Emil Jonsson, who should start at around 20 or just before 20 past 3 local time. So if you're watching in the UK, that will be around 18 minutes past 2. We should be lined up for Emil Jonsson.
This is a very positive start from Halvorsen. Keeping it and making it look quite easy up this climb. His facial expressions, unlike Bib 16 there, of course, Larkov, we saw him earlier on. This is his home straight now. Tension throughout the whole body. It's just sheer pain almost as you come into this home straight.
Now, can he crack the 9 minutes? He's going to be just outside, I think, similar time to Valius of Canada, just inside that. 4th place for Larkov. And that continues what's already been a very good season for him. He's only 23 years of age, done well to get into the Russian team so young. And I think really it was his results out in North America that impressed the selectors, and that's why he's here in Oberhof at the start of the tour. Razim from the Czech Republic, just looking to see where Lukas Bauer fits into the picture, Mike. Lukas Bauer starting number 53, an indication that he's not had the best of seasons so far.
Well, no, that's right. I think a little disappointing by his high standard, but of course missing out on the potential points over in Quebec and then over in Canmore. Oh, that's a great time from Razim.
Yeah, a really good run. You might remember him from Liberec when he got a good 6th place in the sprint in the World Championships back in 2009. That was on home snow. He's a long way from it now.
Interestingly, Razim was 4.5 seconds slower than Tritscher at the top of the first climb, but then has turned that around by some 15 seconds by his correct pacing at the high point. It really is about pacing, getting it right in the first half of this climb, or of this course, I should say.
I guess the other question that we need to ask is if you push too hard today, like Petter Northug did last year, I'm not saying he pushed too hard, but he pushed extremely hard to get the win. How much does that take out of you for the remaining races? Is it better to lose 5 to 10 seconds today, save something for later on, or do you not feel that significant?
I don't think it's significant, and I think the personality, Petter Northug, he gives everything when it comes to these short races. He gives everything in all of his races, and you can't change that personality, and that really is why he's such a winner in this sport. You can't hold the fight back in Northug. And yes, if he does win this one today and gets the 15 seconds bonus, I agree with what you said earlier. He'll just wait for the rest of the pack to catch up. He won't try and run with that advantage throughout the whole race.
That's Robin Duvillard just flying past one of the earlier starters, Tom Reichelt, but they're on different stages of the course, so we'd expect Reichelt to be a little bit tired as he comes in towards the finish, looking for that time of around 8 minutes 50 to challenge the top 3 here in Oberhof. What do we think? 8 minutes 30 possibly for the quickest time of the day. Could easily get down to those sort of margins.
Possibly even more, 8:25 possibly. And it was a huge contrast there. Duvillard having just started, Reichelt just finishing, and the pace so different. Still a great time, well, 19.6 from Reichelt. I thought it was going to be down below 10, but 19.6.
Halvarsson of Sweden just coming in towards the finish. Biggest cheer of the day so far going to Axel Teichmann as he left the stadium, looking very determined. Nice to see him attacking the course early on, Mike. And maybe this is going to be a season when we see Teichmann challenge. He has, of course, done well in the prologue before.
He certainly has. In fact, of course, what was it, 4 years ago, he took the victory in this. Short distances suit him, and Teichmann will keep the relaxation that you so need in these soggy and difficult conditions. Duvillard, we saw him in the stadium. We're seeing him on his way up to the high point. 1.7, that's all they've completed to this point. Then the course becomes a little easier after this, and it's a great time. But 0.6 of a second puts him down into 3rd place, just 1/10 behind Halvarsson, who we saw just finishing.
So the starting numbers of those in the top 5 through the 1.7, we've got 8, 25, 36, 30, 16, and three of the top 5 all starting reasonably recently, so might be an indication that the conditions are getting a little bit faster, but I think it's more of an indication that the athletes are getting better as we go through the start sheet. It's not significant enough to be able to read anything into the speed of the snow at the moment.
Not at all. It's still 2 degrees warm here, plus, and that's it. From some colder races this season, it's not a bad feeling in these warm temperatures.
Hannes Dotzler for Germany, a man from Sonthofen, an area known well by many British skiers, certainly the military ones. And home advantage having some effect there on Dotzler. He went out of there like a whippet. Important to gain a few seconds over the first 100 metres. Rahima for Estonia just finishing his run. 8:42 the fastest at the moment. He's only 8 seconds or so outside that. And a dramatic finish from Rahima. No damage done.
Well, he didn't mean to do a lunge forward there. He nearly tripped. Well, he did trip over himself. But that was a great final effort. The last 100 metres to the limit.
Yeah, if you're going to fall, make it look as though it's intentional. And then just check there's no one around to watch. We've all done it. And he chose just the right spot. Had it happened 5 metres before the line, it would have been a different story. Now, this is Axel Teichmann, and he does look good, doesn't he, Mike? He's had an up-and-down career. At his best, he was the #1 in the world. And then over recent years, he's hardly featured in the German team. But here he is, pushing hard, looking strong, really strong, and attacking that first bit of downhill. Good work from Teichmann.
And the big change in the German team this year, Patrick, of course, they've got Frank Ulrich, the former biathlon world champion, Olympic champion, and he coached the biathlon team for so many years. He's come into the cross-country team and really has turned things around a little, along with Jochen Behle. 8.3, Teichmann never starts fast, but he's got a great final half to this race.
Yeah, he'll keep it consistent, and there's always that argument. We were talking about Northug and his finishing prowess. Cologne basically will set off at one speed. He'll keep the same speed all the way through, which ultimately is much more efficient than taking the first half steady and then putting in a fantastic sprint over the last kilometre and a half. If you just keep the speed sufficient, and to win the Tour, I'm convinced that that's how you have to race it.
And I think the personality of Colonia, a little like Axel Teichmann, we saw him there, it's calm, it's organised, it's efficient, rather than this all-out blasting power. But of course Teichmann will need to pick his pace up if he wants to win this or get in the top 10 today.
Thomas Bing of Germany started 30 seconds in front of Teichmann. We got a glimpse of him earlier on. Design of the skis have changed. The front of the ski, Mike, used to come up some 4 or 5 inches more than that and have a serious looking point on the end. Not a bad thing in conditions like this with the soft snow.
Yeah, quite a rigid ski now as well, and of course today in the softer conditions, and that's why the athletes have what at their disposal. Here Northug up to 100 pairs he was testing. He's probably whittled that down to 30 pairs, and well, they all react slightly differently in hard packed icy conditions, or today the soft conditions. You need to be selecting your huge selection. You need some variety in there to get the best ones for these conditions.
Well, that's all very well having 30 pairs of skis on tour with you, but unless you've got 2 or 3 men helping you get them ready, you're wasting your time. You might as well whittle it down to between 3 and 5 good pairs of skis that you can prepare. Someone like Northug will have an army of technicians getting the skis prepared to their optimum.
Oh, totally. Dulevar lost a little pacing at the end there, but it's still a great performance, 6.7. Yeah, interesting, the ski waxing and the preparation. With Switzerland now having their waxing truck on location here, and of course the German team have got one, Norway and Finland getting one as well, Italians also, but that's for the World Championships. A big advantage there in organising all your skis.
Now Pearl of Switzerland could turn the tables on the French, and he does. That's a good time, but doesn't quite catch Razim. Just 0.2 of a second outside Razim's time. That's a good race from Kurdin Pearl. 8:42.2 his time. Nicholas Drihaug of Norway, certainly a man who's capable of beating that. Tall, rangy figure, beautiful technician, very, very well balanced, and he seems to be able to get just those extra 6 or 7 inches of glide on every stride. Very, very strong indeed. And then we go to the Canadians. Alex Harvey, starting 56. Devon Kershaw, starting 57. And then a little bit of a wait before even Babikov goes off at number 65. And it would be nice to see Alex Harvey coming to his best form. He's underway in the men's prologue and looking good. Welcome back. You're just in time to see the finish from Axel Teichmann, and it's good. It's not going to take the lead away from Razim, but he's only going to be 9 seconds or so outside the best, and that's a positive start to the Tour de Ski for Teichmann. No bonus seconds today. He's outside the top 3, but he looked good all the way through. Pacing, Mike, he tends to be a little bit slower at the 1.7.
Well, he's certainly Teichmann, he's made positions up in the second part of the race, although he was, what, 4.5 seconds behind Tritscher, who's probably going to hold the fastest time for most of the race at the 1.7. That looks good, and the Germans must feel confident that it's going to be a successful tour once again. Good few years since they had their win with Toby Angerer, and they would so much love to take a victory again in the overall Tour de Ski. Teichmann, he always coughs for about 10 minutes after his race. It's just a bronco. It's not that cold, the air here, but it's gasping in so many hundreds of litres of oxygen around this course.
Toby Angerer, incidentally, starts number 77. Jens Philbrick goes off number 79. And those are the last 2 Germans to get underway here in Oberhof. Emil Jonsson, of course, will be the last man away, the man who leads the World Cup rankings. He's the #1 sprinter in the world, Emil Jonsson. Whether he can win the Tour de Ski, that's a very different question indeed. Number 55, Nicholas Driehaug, who we saw a little bit early on. Good exit from the stadium, still looking very smooth.
You can almost see there his right ski. He's trying to place it on the outside edge just to enhance the glide a little more. Great technician. Collapsing the body weight through, using all of his 85 kilograms to compress through that edge. 8.1 seconds. Driehaug will be disappointed with that. Just 8.1. Lukas Bauer has gone through as well, only 5.3 seconds. That's good news for the Czech team, and of course Razim leading at the end at the moment.
This looks okay from Alex Harvey. 3:52, he's 3.1. He's in touch certainly with Tricher, who wasn't blisteringly fast on the second half of the course. So Harvey is certainly in a position to challenge for the lead. Might be around 8:40, 8:45, somewhere around there. Dotzler 24 seconds outside. Not such good news for the Germans. The leader still Ales Razim of the Czech Republic. And just looking at his record over the years, we've seen him at Junior World Championships, World Championships, under 23s, Olympic Games, but he's never really had a top place finish in the World Cups. So a good day for him so far. This is Martin Jaks of the Czech Republic as well, in that familiar blue suit. I think those bandages are part of the suit marking as opposed to supporting the knees.
Now Martin Jaks was 6 seconds behind at the 1.7 marker.
And he's done well. He's done very well. He's put the Czech Republic 1 and 2. It's been a long time since we've seen them at the top.
Fantastic pacing though, to be so confident to pass the 1.7 with such a margin. 6 seconds for Jaks, and then to go into the lead. It just shows the importance of getting your pace right
and getting a good split. Once he heard that his teammate Ales Razim was leading, he will have believed he could have beaten him. Had it been, say, Teichmann who was leading, he may not have produced that same response.
Good point, as you know what your teammates are capable of, you know what you can give in relation to them. And Martin Jaks, he cuts it so well as a junior, winning titles at the Junior World Championships. We've seen flurries where he's very good, and especially in relays, he doesn't give in when he's in a relay. And it's so good to see him back to his best form now. The sky's beginning to open up here, Patrick. Temperature might well be dropping. Not at the moment, though.
Johan Olsen coming into the finish just as Ivan Babikov of Canada sets out after completing his first short loop in the stadium. Then he's back out onto the tracks for another 3.5K. 14.3 outside. Not bad from Olsen. It's not going to set the world alight, but he's well placed in the Tour, and no chance of him being kicked out of the Tour at this early stage.
That's right, for the men you need to be keeping within 15% each day in the running order, or your time behind the leaders, or you'll be unable to start the next stage if you drop down below that. This looks like Lukas Bauer coming now. It is.
Now, can he put the Czech Republic 1, 2 and 3? Just having a look for Bauer's intermediate time. He wasn't as quick as the others. Down in 16th, 5.3 outside. But this is a good recovery from Bauer. He's going to go into the top 6. So we have 3 Czechs in the top 6 at the moment, which is pretty much unheard of. But we still have another 40 or so athletes to complete the race, and we've only got through to number 71. That's David Hoffer on the start line, and of course another 28 skiers still to go. So 14 minutes before Emil Jonsson will be out on the tracks and chasing everyone else's time. Nortug starts 95. Slightly earlier start for Dario Colonia. Mike starts at number 87, being down in 10th in the World Cup standings at the moment. So that's an advantage for Northug, being able to pace himself off his biggest rival.
Yes, it is. And of course, well, Dario Colonia was, I think he started last, effectively, with the yellow bib last season here. So it'll be interesting. Different for Colonia to start down there in 85th position.
Here comes Alex Harvey. Certainly his style looked good. He was some way off the marker going through the first checkpoint, but he seems to have accelerated okay, and this looks very promising indeed. Yaks on 8:40, could be about to be pushed off. 4 seconds, Harvey to cross the line, and Canada go top. It's the slimmest of margins, half a second between them, but a brilliantly paced run from Alex Harvey. He hasn't shown too much this season, but now he's shown us what he showed us many, many times last year. He is a world beater. America winning the women's prologue earlier on. Is it going to be Canada who win the men's?
Well, he absolutely paced that beautifully well, did Alex Harvey. And they were so disappointed. He likes his skis. He was so disappointed in Canada. The 2 World Cups said they were not on form. They just got it a little wrong. He's certainly on form now.
What about Kershaw, Mike? He's already through 1.7. In fact, Kershaw should be into the stadium in the next 20 seconds or so. I don't think he's going to be able to match his teammate who started 1 in front of him. 68 is, as you will know, from Italy, Federico Pellegrino. And the Italians certainly not the force that they once were in men's skiing. We've got Fulvio Scola, who goes number 86. He's not one of the seeds. He's splitting Chernisov and Colonia, so he's got pretty distinguished company on either side of him. Roland Clara going off 75.
Pellegrino, here he is. He's a great talent, and I think more suited for the 1.4, the 1.8 kilometre out-and-out sprints. Look at that, 51st position, but only 11 seconds behind, 11.5. There's nothing in it.
And with margins that small, it shows just how important it is to choose the right bit of snow, get the right line round every single corner. It's the sort of race where you have to think, and I can only think of one man who is out and out brilliant at doing that.
Would that be Northug?
It would certainly be Northug. And I think the men's 50k in Oslo, which you were privileged enough to be covering, was the classic example of knowing where to push and where to hold back.
He's just got it's just a natural talent that he has to read the track, to read other people around him if he's in a pack racing situation. But also today, Northug will probably be further to the right or left of screen than 71 than David Hofer is. And it really is about being intelligent with your racing, not just getting the technique right, the endless hours, the 1,000 to 1,100 hours of training they've put into the season before this, or into the year of preparation for this. So much to cross-country skiing at the highest level.
Matti Häkkinen on the charge for Finland, over 10 seconds adrift of the fastest time so far, 13.7. That will do nicely for Matti Häkkinen. Lukas Hofer keeps himself in the picture, but it's going to have to be a pretty spectacular comeback over the next 2.3 kilometres for Hofer. But Alex Harvey did it.
Entirely possible, saving that little bit to the high point. With huge recovery down here, you can make a comeback.
Number 81, Marcus Hellner, ready to go. Andrew Young of Great Britain out on the tracks already. We'll try and bring you his progress when he comes up to 1.7. With the big guns starting now, we might not pick up on Andrew Young. Marcus Hellner, who of course is the world sprint champion, but he's a very, very good distance skier indeed, and of course took gold in the Olympic 30 kilometre, was it, in Vancouver.
Yes, he did, and of course at the World Championships he beat, of course, Petter Northug in the sprint race as well. With his light body weight, I feel with Marcus Hellner, his wonderful skiing technique, the tempo that he can give more than most over this range, this distance. For me, he's got a very good chance of knocking Alex Harvey at the moment off the top position.
Well, certainly a quick start by Hellner and not a foot placed wrong so far. So technically brilliant. Alexander Leghoff is the man who's chasing Hellner. 1 minute down on the Swede, and I suspect he might get his splits off the man just in front of him. Leghoff, another brilliant sprinter, usually in the classic style.
So strong as well. Leghoff, he reminds me in the women's field of Justina Kowalczyk. It's not the most efficient on the skis, but it's brutally strong and powerful. And you need to have that fight. You need decent technique, but a lot of sports psychologists try so hard to give to athletes that don't have that bullish attacking nature, to give it to them, and Leghoff has got it every day of asking. 67, I said Giorgio Di Centa, 40-year-old in the final stages. What an athlete. And look at the time. This is a great time from Giorgio Di Centa.
I take it you mean the final stages of his race. 8:45 for Giorgio, 5.9. That is very good indeed. Promising stuff from him. Now, Toby Angara looking a little bit fatigued, but he skis with a slightly slower tempo and only 6 seconds outside the best so far. Now, Mike, in the finish, Alex Harvey leading. Where was Harvey? Was he 3-4 seconds behind Tritcher going through that marker?
Interesting, yes, he was 3.1 behind Tritcher.
So we've got Toby Angara there, another 3 seconds down on Alex Harvey. That might be a difficult task to gain that.
It is, if he doesn't quite focus on that descent.
Well, this is the hard bit of the corner, but he gets around that very nicely indeed. See how he pushes the hands forward and down, trying to lower that centre of gravity, but doesn't allow the body to rotate too much. Good skiing from Angara, especially after that little loss of balance.
Look at this. He's just lifted his hand up to his nose, just lack of concentration for a millisecond.
I think that right ski catches the outside edge, and quick reactions there. The best thing often to do is just jump up in the air and then come down with your feet slightly further apart than they were initially.
He listened to you. It's as if that's what he's done as Cologne starts. Andrew Young's just gone through, Patrick, on the 1.7. He's just lost him there, 16 seconds behind, I think, at the 1.7.
So the man to beat, Dario Cologne, is out on the course, and he may not win today, but he won't be at all fazed by that. He knows that this is all about the long haul. He's got 9 days out on the tracks, and Dario Cologne, of course, the 3-time Tour de Ski champion. He's looking to make it 4. 71 coming in to finish is David Hoffer. He was over 10 seconds behind at the interval, and well, we'll try and pick up his time. Doesn't look to me as though he's gone into the top 3, but he's just outside. 5th place at the moment, 2.3 seconds outside, so a good second half from David Hoffer.
Wonderful second half, and Giorgio Di Centa did the same. He paced it well to the high point of the course. Andrew Young, I beg your pardon, he's at 12.3 seconds behind, 60th place, but well in contention.
Yaparov for Russia.
Now Yaparov was well up there. He was only 2.3 seconds behind in 5th place at the 1.7 marker.
Well, he's still skiing very fluently. This isn't a sprint finish. He's trying to put it in, I think, showing how tired he is. Alex Harvey's time of 8:40 dead is not going to be beaten, but Yaparov is only going to be 4 or 5 seconds outside. 4.8 in the margin. That's a really good ski from Yaparov, and he'll be happy with the time, disappointed that he doesn't pick up any of the bonus seconds for finishing in the top 3. And now we come to the last 5 big names, in fact 4 more big names: Villigzanen, Polteranen, Nortug and Jönsson. But sandwiched in between them, we have Ostensen, Kresma and Malishev. Ostensen of Norway could do something. He'll benefit certainly from having Polteranen start just behind him.
It's a very powerful start from Dejanin as usual. He was really throwing his body weight down in the first 100 metres into the edges. Hugely powerful. Good to see the Estonians. Algo Karp coming through there, bib 84. 18.7 now, that's quite a margin to drop in 1.7 seconds. 1.7 kilometers, of course. Oh, Chernusov, he started strong, he's kept the pace going, he's 1.1 advantage.
Well, that's the first time we've seen the green light for a while. The Russians meaning business. Remember, they are leading the Nations Cup in the Men's World Cup so far this year. And you can only do that if you've got 2 or 3 men on very good form indeed. Strength in depth required to win the Nations Cup. Norway have been dominant over recent years. But I think the tide is turning for the Norwegians. They've been dominant for a long while. The Swedes dominated the 80s, I guess, with Gunde Svan and Morgren, Vasberg.
Yeah, and the late 70s, mid to late 80s. And the Norwegians have been there. Of course, the Russians have always been in there or thereabouts.
Angra, who had that little dance on his skis on the downhill section, comes through 12.2 outside the best so far. So no Germans in the top 10 at the moment. And here we go with last year's winner of the Prologue, Petter Northug of Norway. He is the most exciting skier on the tour, without a doubt. Many would claim that Dario Colonia is the better skier, but he has that Bodie Miller factor, doesn't he, Mike? When he starts, you just have to watch because you have absolutely no idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's almost like, I know when I was a kid and it was Franz Klammer on the alpine skiing, that it was just magnetic. You had to watch the telly, and for me as well, Petter Northug is like that. He's exciting, he's daring, he takes risks, and he pushes himself to the limit. But Chernusov going well out there so far.
Chernusov started 85, number 88 going through. Well, that wasn't Pellegrino, that is Amadiev. 79 is Jens Philbrick, another of a very steady German team. They're not as good as they used to be, but 19.6 is pretty handy. So Dotzler's done well, Philbrick's done okay, Teichmann's done okay, and of course Toby Angra, we've just seen 12 seconds off the pace of the best. And here comes Markus Hellner in towards the finish. What can the world champion sprinter do on the Prologue today? He's certainly hungry for success, Mike, but the fact that he's only taken 30 seconds out of Lazutkin might suggest that he's not been that good. But look at the time, he's 5 seconds inside Alex Harvey, and he's had an absolute blinder on the second half of the course. And my goodness, Lazutkin has excelled himself, the man from Belarus. Only 30 seconds behind him.
Brilliant, absolutely. Hellner was in 12th position, 4.8 seconds behind at the top of, well, here at this point. So Hellner has turned it around massively, and great pacing.
Dangerous position for Villigzanin, 4.1 to make up, but he looks to have gone over the hill quicker than anyone else, certainly attacking that first phase of the downhill as well. Alexander Legkov.
Well, Villigzanin has gone just ahead of Hellner at the top of the hill, so he's got an advantage of 0.3 of a second. It's a good day for the Russians.
Yeah, Legkov, of course, who won the freestyle up in Kusamo earlier in the season, so he's on very good form. It's going to be close. 8:34 the target time. He just misses it out on that and goes into second position ahead of Harvey, 1.1 outside the fastest. Well, things are starting to pick up here in Oberhof. Well, Mike, I think your money might be on this man, Ilya Chernusov. Has he done what you expected today?
He has. It's all about pacing. He really did attack the first part strong, but the main aspect, he's kept his fight, his momentum going.
3:51.6 at the interval, 1.1 faster than Tritcher. Legkov was 3.6 seconds slower than Chernozov at that stage, but well, Legkov was certainly neater in the closing stages.
And Hellner, of course, was neater in these closing stages of the race as well, and Chernozov just losing it in this final 500.
Yeah, 8:34.8, and he ends up 5 seconds or so outside the quickest as well. So maybe a slight error in judgment as far as pacing is concerned, but at least he's on form. He might be a contender for the Tour de Ski. Now we come to Petter Northug, coming up towards 1.7. Don't expect to see him in the lead, but 3.5 is perfectly good enough for him. He can take 3.5 seconds out of anyone in the last 500 metres.
And what a wonderful feeling that must be, Patrick, if your name's Northug and you know you're only 3.5 down at the top of the hill. And to have a finish, it's all about the finish pace, and that's what we saw from Marcus Hellner, keeping the technique and leaving something for this home straight even.
Yeah, Dario Colonia here coming in to finish. He's taken, what, 27 seconds or so out of Scola of Italy. That's an indication that he's been going nicely. 5.1 seconds going through the intermediate time behind Dario Colonia, and he's not going to match the best, but he's going to be very, very close to the top positions, and that, I think, goes down as a good day's work. He's into third. At the moment, he gets 5 bonus seconds, but crucially, only 4 seconds off the best, and he's made it look easy.
As usual, he makes it look... So he looks, for me, a little better than he did prior to Christmas. His spark, that tiny little spark factor, seems to be back.
I think he's made this a priority this season.
Jonsson pacing this well. He had the fastest time at this stage last year. He's now 5 seconds off. Is he pacing it, or has the trip to Canada knocked him back a little, and the jet lag and the huge travel, has that played its part on Jonsson?
Good speed out of the fastest corner on the course here in Oberhof. Now, if it freezes overnight, Mike, the tracks are going to be very treacherous.
They are, especially the descent we saw there from Jonsson, and of course, if it is icy tonight, it's all about Klister, so classic skiing tomorrow, and that will be a little nightmare for the waxing technicians.
Villigzanen it is, who is on his way home. Not much more for him to do today. The question is, will he match the quickest time of 8:34.8?
He's getting the split timings, the exact timings at this point. He seems to have picked up the gear. The coach is there shouting, so he's definitely in major contention here.
He was 4.1 outside the best at the intermediate, just but a little bit quicker than Alex Harvey, who's still up there in the top 4 positions, and ahead of Dario Colonia, who was 5.1 outside. So this could be a perfectly run race from Villigzanen, and he's finishing well into the last 50 metres now. We need the clock to see exactly how he's doing. The time he's after, 8:34.8, and he's just missed out on that, but he's within 6 seconds of the best, and he's safely into the top 10. So the Russians are looking fantastic today. Legkov is up there, Chernozov is up there, Villigzanen is up there as well.
And Yaparov in 11th position, just 10 seconds off.
So that's 4 in the top 11 for Russia.
And 5 in the top 20.
Yeah, I'm not sure any other nation's going to be able to match that.
The surprise for me at the moment in the top 20, I'm not seeing one Norwegian at the moment in the top 20 at the finish.
Northug, remember, 3.5 seconds outside the best going through the checkpoint. Where did you say Emil Jonsson was, Mike? And what do you think his prospects are?
He's in 21st position at the halfway marker, 5.8 seconds. I'm in two minds. Either he's pacing it very intelligently. Normally he goes out so hard you'd expect him to lead it. So I think he's going to lose a further 5-10 seconds to the line. Polterainen.
He's had a very good season so far, Polterainen. Lying in 8th position in the Distance World Cup. That incidentally led by Sørøte of Norway, who's not entered for the Tour de Ski. I don't checking my start sheet. Certainly haven't picked up on Rutter, which is a shame. He was skiing hard in America. So, Kretschmer is there, and Kretschmer's had 30 seconds taken out of him by Petter Northug. And look at the time, 8:26. He's going to be 5 seconds inside the best. A wonderful run from Petter Northug yet again. But this year, he's made it look much, much easier than last year. Taken advantage of a late start number, but skied superbly. I don't think he left too much to the final stages.
Oh, that was an amazing performance. 3.5 seconds behind at the halfway. And, well, 6.1 seconds advantage at the end. It was beautiful.
Remember, Northug has never won the Tour de Ski. He's won Olympic golds, World Championship golds. He's won the overall World Cup. But the Tour de Ski is the one title that has denied him so far. I can't believe that Emil Jonsson is going to get over the challenge. Jonsson's starting exactly a minute behind Petter Northug, and he's still got at least another 30 seconds to go.
So Jonsson was 5.8 seconds behind at the marker, at the high point.
Shorter distance are usually his forte, although I sense that he's getting better at the long distance races as the years go on, Mike. That's not an unfamiliar pattern.
But it does look like he has dropped another, what, 8 seconds or so.
Yeah, and now struggling to make the top 15. He just makes that. 13th place for Emil Jonsson, 16.2 outside. Add another 15 bonus seconds, which go to Petter Northug. And so Jonsson starts 30 seconds behind tomorrow at least. Good work, good work. I don't think he will have had too many pretenses about winning today. I wonder whether he feels he could win the overall Tour. I suspect not.
It must be in the back of his mind because, as you said, he has improved his endurance, his distance game this season. And of course, he's leading the World Cup at the moment, but that was with his successes in Canada.
So race 1 of 7 complete. And it's a familiar story. Petter Northug leading the way. His time 8:28.7. Marcus Hellner in second place for Sweden. He's had a very good run. 2 big rivals, 1 and 2. Alexander Legkov is the best of the Russians at the moment. And then further down, Dario Colonia, the defending champion, 10 seconds given away, plus those bonuses. So Colonia 25 seconds down at the start of tomorrow's pursuit. That's going to be fascinating, isn't it, Mike? Will Northug say 25 seconds ahead of Colonia? I might as well take advantage of that.
He might. I doubt he will, though, because the pack are going to be chasing him at such an intensity. It would maybe be unwise to try and run it on your own from the front.
The conditions will determine what he does.
They will. He may well try and go for some of the bonus seconds on the way, which may change the strategy of his race, but well, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, if the skies continue to clear as they have been doing over the afternoon, the temperature is going to drop tonight. We could have some icy tracks. I think if they're icy and fast, Northug will go for it. If it's thick snow like we had last year, he'll have absolutely no chance of leading it out from the front. Well, there are Tour de Ski standings with the bonuses added. You see the margin now between Hellner and Northug stands at just over 11 seconds. Further down, Giorgio De Centa's had a good run. My goodness, you need a photographic memory to be able to cope with these. Toby Angerer down in 24, 8:52 his time at the moment. Any other big names further down? Nicholas Driehaug, we thought he might do a little bit better, down in 38th place after race number 1.
It's been quite an interesting day. Some of the big names are not where they would have hoped or where they would have expected at the end of this first test out in the Tour de Ski.
Northug back to number 1 spot in the World Cup with the 50 World Cup points that he picks up today. Very close between himself and Emil Jonsson. And Toby Angerer down in 16th, just ahead of Philbrick. So I think the Germans will still be happy. Well, a good day's racing. The crowd's not quite as big as we were expecting, but thick fog, a pea super, I think you could call it this morning. I think that's put a few of them off, and I think they realised that they get bigger and better views on the box at home in the hotel. But certainly tomorrow we'll see some fantastic support. Let's have a look at the top three from the men's prologue. Alexander Legkov, he leads the Russian challenge. Good strong performance from him. Really the key with his race, Mike, was the pacing.
Pacing, very intelligently paced, 9th at the halfway mark, 3rd at the finish.
Markus Hellner, of course, in 2nd place today, just 6 seconds down on Petter Northug, his time, and then another 5 second of bonus differences, so 11.1 the margin tomorrow. Hellner and Northug, maybe they could team up. An unlikely pair to work together, but it might just happen.
It might. They are friendly rivals, I think, might be the better way to look at them. And of course, it's tomorrow, the same as today. It's 15 for a win, 10 for a 2nd place, 5 for 3rd.
And of course, the winner, Petter Northug. We've got the Four Hills tournament coming up with David Goldstrom right after this. And do stay to enjoy the action from the first of the Four Hills. But Northug it is who wins the prologue here in Oberhof.